Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to my show, High Road to Humanity. In every episode, I tell you powerful true stories filled with great wisdom that you can use in your own life as you strive for a higher road to travel. My featured guests will have their own unique stories to tell that enlighten your mind and your soul. So kick back, relax, and learn the secret to success when you take the high road.
First touch, strong connection, it lays deep in your soul.
Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And Penny Price Lavin is here. She's been here before. You know, she has done the movie The Healing Field, and she's also written the book, The Healing Field. Now, I'm going to tell you what we're going to be talking about today by reading this quote by Jack Lim. He is a Qigong grandmaster, and he says, "In the healing field, Penny Price Lavin has brought together the great minds and healers of this era to create a masterpiece which will surely positively affect the lives and happiness of millions of people throughout the world as they embrace the radiance both within and around themselves." Hey, Penny, welcome to High Road to Humanity.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. Thank you for that introduction. And you mentioned the documentary. So this is the documentary, and the book looks similar. It's the same major title, but they have different subtitles. So
yeah,
and it's Amazon.
Well, and it's a tele-winning documentary, The Healing Field, exploring energy and consciousness. Isn't that correct?
Exactly. It was also on PBS as well.
Gosh, and I've seen it. And if you guys haven't seen it, it's definitely worth watching. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get into it, I just want to say a couple things that came across. You know, I don't know if anybody's heard this or not. It is February 2nd. U.S. orders 3,000 troops to bolster European allies in Russian-Ukraine crisis. And this guest came across from Washington. President Biden is directing the Pentagon to deploy more than 3,000 American troops to bolster the defense of European allies in the first major movement of U.S. forces in Russia's military standoff with Ukraine. U.S. officials said Mr. Biden is sending roughly 2,000 troops from Fort Bragg, North Carolina, to Poland and Germany this week, and repositioning about 1,000 troops that are part of a German-based infantry striker squadron to Romania on the North Atlantic Treaty Organization's eastern flank, closest to Russia. So this is happening right now. I'm not a real big fan of it. You know, I just want to make people aware of what's going on. I feel like, you know, that's what we're heading towards, unfortunately, is a conflict. Penny, you want to say anything about this one? Nothing. She's like, no, Nancy.
My shaking my head is that humanity, I mean, there's the best of us and the worst of us, right? And each one of us has a potential for the good or the bad.
Right.
You know, each individual person is responsible for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Time immemorial, there has been darkness and evil. And I love the quote from the esoteric tradition on evil. And evil is consciously doing harm to another. Right. And I think that that so covers what we've seen throughout the world, you know. And at this point, when you look at the arc of history, I mean, truly the arc of history. I love that Martin Luther King a quote about the arc of humanity is long, but it bends towards justice. Mm-hmm. It takes a long, long, long time, and it takes the shorter to shorten that time. It needs people of goodwill to do good. And the evil or the darkness will prevail if people don't step up. Yeah, so in every way in our lives, you know, with our families, with our communities, with writing to our congressmen, to voting, all the different things that we can do, we each need to step up and not shirk, because we only have our time and energy in this lifetime. Mm-hmm. That's what we have, our time and our energy. And so look how we spend it, look where we spend it, and make sure that you can spend it towards positive things. So I think it comes down to human responsibility. That's where my takeaway is.
Well, and I feel like this is all political. They feel like it would be good for the United States to go to war. And, we're in such a mess right now. And yes, it is down to good versus evil. It really, truly is. And so I have to say that. Another thing that came across that I have to speak up about, I used to watch The View in the beginning when Barbara Walters was on there. But it has become so crazy that I don't watch it anymore. But I do keep an eye on what's happening. And here's the headline: ABC suspends Whoopi Goldberg over Holocaust comments. Ms. Goldberg comments, and this is from the New York Times, by the way, on Monday's episode of The View came amid growing ignorance about the Holocaust and rising anti-Semitism. And she has apologized. Whoopi Goldberg, the comedian and actress who is also a co-host of the ABC talk show The View, will be suspended for 2 weeks. The network announced Tuesday night after she said repeatedly during an episode of the show that aired on Monday that the Holocaust was not about race. Comments that come at a time of rising anti-Semitism globally. She later apologized. I have to say, this is ignorance. She didn't know. How can you be on, I just want to say this because you have been on national television. I want you to talk about that today, but I just want to get this out. How can you be holding this position on The View and not have a clue of what happened during the Holocaust? She is trying to pit whites against whites. That is the craziest thing I have ever seen. I don't think, this is my opinion only, I don't think she should have been suspended. I think she should have been fired over that one. That's my opinion. How can you not know that? And if you don't know, why wouldn't you look it up? I mean, Google it, for God's sakes.
And what did she really mean? If it wasn't about race, I mean, it was about anti-Semitism for sure. But if it wasn't about that, what did she think it was about? I mean, it was about anti-Semitism. I mean, they tried to eliminate the Jews in Germany. They tried their best. What did she think it was about?
Yeah, it's ignorance. Well, it's just ignorance. And that's just, drives me crazy. But anyway, having said that, I want to talk a little bit about you, Penny. Penny is the associate director of One Light Healing Touch, and she's been a practitioner since 2000. She became a certified instructor in 2006, where she deeply enjoys teaching the basic training and helping students open, learn, heal, and grow. She's a master instructor where she teaches many of the courses in One Light Healing Touch. I've taken courses from her. But what I want to talk about a little bit is your background. You used to be in the media. Talk a little bit about what you used to do and how you got into the healing part of this, Penny. Tell the audience.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love that question.
Yeah.
So just really briefly, the path in my life, since I was very, very, very small, the path in my life has always been about media and also energy healing. And I began doing both of them when I was young. So I was always interested in both bringing light into the media, bringing healing, bringing light, bringing information for the greater good. And then with healing work, I think I told you the story when I was 11, when I began doing energy healing. I don't know, did I tell you that story?
Tell the story.
Oh, it's a great story. So back to the media. When I was in 5th grade, I started a little local newspaper with my girlfriend, and we had a little paper, and our families and our communities bought it. So that was always my love of bringing information out. Okay. And then when I was 11, my girlfriend's father was in the hospital, and he had a heart attack. And she said to me, do something, because she knew I was psychic and she knew I had that ability to do something. So I closed my eyes, and I didn't know why I did this, but I imagined him in the hospital room, and I just started bringing in colors around him. I don't know why I did that, but I just started, it was a very clear intention. I brought in colors around him, and I held it for about 10 minutes, and then I released it. And the next day she said, "He was remarkably better. What did you do?" And then I said, well, I brought in pink and gold and other things that I did. And then I described the hospital room. And Nancy, it was to the last detail. The description was exactly right. And at that moment, I knew that I had the ability to really cross over into another dimension. So I began doing color healing on sick friends or sick pets, from that point on. Right. And years later, this is years and years later, I was in California, and someone was channeling the goddess Isis from Egypt, the great goddess
Yeah.
and they came into the room and they said, we're glad that you're here today. And as they were speaking to her, I felt this electrical storm around and inside of my body like I've never felt before or since. So I knew that I was supposed to be there, but I didn't know what was going to happen. And the person said, I'm glad to be here. And I first want to talk to the person, Penny and answer her questions. So I nearly fell off my chair. But because I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people, I started doing an interview with this person who was channeling Isis. And she told me that I had been a priestess many times in the temple, and I did healings and herbal healings and a lot of energy work. And one of the things that we used to do a lot of was color healing. And so at that moment, I realized that that's where that came through for me. That ability to do color healing came through from that lifetime. And what I get from this is just that whenever I see a client and they have a certain ability, or their child has a certain ability, that it's come through with it. It's come through, writing, piano. So
Yeah.
it's just honor and to know, and to just allow yourself to feel it and go with it, because it's something that's come through in from a previous lifetime, because it's something that you've really held on to and you love. So
That's really awesome. Thanks for telling us that story. Hey, we got to go to commercial break. Her book is called The Healing Field. Also, there is the documentary that you can see, and it's on Gaia. Isn't that right?
Gaia and Amazon.
And on Amazon. Okay. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and this is High Road to Humanity. And I'm here today with Penny Price Lavin. We're talking about healing. We're talking about energy healing. And Penny was telling us about her experiences. And please continue on, Penny.
I wanted to share that I began doing, while I was director of development at 20th Century Fox Television in Los Angeles, I learned Reiki like many people did, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. And then I met my husband, who taught me One Light Healing Touch, because that's what he did. And I saw that the healings, my clients said the healings were stronger and the healings were a higher vibration. So I stayed with One Light Healing Touch. And at that point, I was really doing both things. I was doing the media work and I was doing the energy work. And I worked with after I worked with NBC Magazine as a producer, and then I went to, which was like the early version of 60 Minutes.
Okay.
And then I went to 20th Century Fox Television as director of development, and then I stayed in Los Angeles and I did lots of specials and pilots. And then Geraldo tracked me down because I worked with him when I was at Good Morning America, and he asked
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he asked me to produce his pilot, so I did that, and it was so successful that that Tribune bought it. So it was a program in syndication. And so what I did at Geraldo, which was really interesting, because people hate him or love him, they have very strong feelings about him.
That's true.
So what I did, he let me do anything I wanted. So what I did is I did both shining the light into very dark areas, and I did a whole series on the environment that won awards, and I did a series on AIDS that won a Maggie Award. But besides doing those kinds of stories, I also did body, mind, and spirit. And I did meditation, and I brought Marianne Williamson on and Deepak Chopra on a number of times. And we learned, spoon bending, and people who had gone to Medjugorje and gotten healed and come back. So I was able to do that whole body, mind, and spirit, many, many different shows in that area, people who had gotten energy healing or mental imagery healing. So I was always very interested in both shining the light into dark areas, as well as bringing the light into, the body, mind, and spirit, which was just sort of beginning at that point. Mm-hmm. And then I stayed with Geraldo for 7 years, and then I started my own production company where I did documentaries. And then I left that after a period of time. I didn't leave it. I did a documentary called The Healing Field that you mentioned, because after I continued with energy healing, I really saw that, like when you interview a lot of people and you see what's going on in the media, you see there's something missing that people they need to connect some kind of dots about something. So you do a story on it. And what I did is I did the healing field, exploring energy and consciousness, because I really saw that people really didn't know how energy healing worked and what the whole field was about, and the NIH and that whole broader sense of why these things are getting popular again today all over the world. So as you said, it was a Telly-winning documentary, and Gaia said it's so popular that they also have it in German, French, and Spanish.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah,
Honey.
so we get contacted from people all over the world.
That is fantastic. You know, you've really done a lot of work. You continue to do wonderful work. What are you doing these days? I just want to say really quick, I have taken a class with Penny, the One Light Healing Touch class, to learn to, I've had energy healing classes before, but I really felt strongly about your classes and I want to tell people about them. And I attended a class and there were people from all over the world and we did remote healing and it was fantastic. And so I want to mention that. But what have you been doing? Are you still doing the classes? What's going on?
So thank you for mentioning that. So it's called it's called a Day of Healing. It's a wonderful day, and I'm giving it again.
What are you doing?
Any of your viewers, I don't know when your program is going to air, but the next one is March 27.
Okay, we're going to air before that. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So it's 10 to 5. I teach distant healing, chakra healing, aura healing, and scanning. So it's a wonderful day. So I'd love anybody who would like to attend to join me.
Yeah.
So what I've been doing is, since COVID, I've been doing all the schools on Zoom. And before COVID, it was always hands-on, get the people in and get the hands-on and do hands-on healing.
Mhm.
So since COVID, it's all been Zoom. It's all been teaching people how to do distant healing. Now, the thing that's amazing, Nancy,
Okay.
and I guess we shouldn't all be amazed because those studies that Ron was in with the NIH. But the thing that's amazing, Nancy, is that they're doing phenomenal healings. They're working with people all around the world, and they are doing wonderful healings with each other, really profound healings. And the other thing we do is we really teach people how to open their psychic senses, where it's clairvoyance, clairsentient, clairaudient, the clairs. So
Right, the clairs. I love it.
Clairs, right.
Yeah, and I want to stop you.
But I just want to mention that that in the exercises to teach the clairs, all the psychic drawing that the students are able to do with each other are phenomenal. So even after COVID ends, I will probably always continue to have some Zoom class because people can't come to New York, 6 times or 5 times and fly in once a month. So I really want to honor those people who want the work, but who don't want to do the plane travel and the hotels and
right.
So I will always be offering it to people as a Zoom school as well as the in-person school as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to interject that when I did take the class with you, that was one thing that I learned that was so important. And that was that I could heal remotely. Mm-hmm. That's what I learned. That was the coolest thing. And then I realized, but then, you start to expand upon that. Okay, so you can heal remotely through Zoom, and that is really awesome. It's waves, it's energy waves. But then I also, have to pay attention to all the different calls that I do on Zoom, because what's happening is you're exchanging the energy again. So that was a real aha moment for me when I did take your class.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Well, just briefly. So anyway, it's not called remote healing. It's called distant healing. To be
okay. Okay.
Remote viewing, which we've done, is very different from distant healing. So remote viewing is a whole other thing. But just really briefly, doing this work and doing the distant healing is something that we really know how to do. And Ron was in those 5 studies with the NIH, and they were all distant healings. They're some of the most well-known and well-respected energy distant healings in the world. They've been often referred to as the Elizabeth Targ studies. So really briefly, can I tell you about the study?
Yeah, go for it.
All righty. So I called it his Mission Impossible years because this was in the 1990s, and he would get it. He was tested. They only wanted to have master healers, and he was tested as having the master healer energy, which is what we teach our students. So anyway, his Mission Impossible years, he would get this pile of envelopes, and it said, "Don't open until whatever the date was," and then he would open it. And what he would then have is he would have the person's first name, their picture and their T cell count. And this was before the AIDS cocktail. And then he would connect, he would go into meditation, like you learned, he would go into meditation and he would connect to the person's spirit to spirit, and he would decide exactly what he was going to do. And then he proceeded to do the healing. And then he would write up his notes afterwards. And he did it for 5 days, for a week. And then he sent his blue book in. And what's amazing, Nancy, is, and then he had a number of people over a period of months that he would be working on in this way. And what was amazing, Nancy, is that all of the people, not just Ron, but all of the people who worked, all of the master healers who worked in that study, when the doctors looked in the peer review, what they found is that there was a control group and a treated group. And the control group, 40% of them died. And in the treated group, not only none of them died, but all of the secondary diseases, which used to be the thing that would kill AIDS people because they had no immune system. So they would have pneumonia and neuroblastoma, all of those things, they either went away entirely or to a significant amount. And in medicine, significant means something. So it's less need for drugs, shorter stay in the hospital, better mood, a number of different factors.
Right.
So anyway, the doctors didn't believe it on the first go around. So they made Elizabeth repeat this study 4 more times. The first study was a Time magazine cover story. And the last study was published in the Western Journal of Medicine as a landmark healing study. So, but the other thing that was interesting too, let me just finish this. What was interesting is when they would go to the clients that Ron would work on that Monday morning. And Ron said, I worked on him from 10 to 11, and this is what I did. When they went to that particular patient, he would say, I felt these waves of energy and I felt blue, I felt this or whatever. Nancy, it was a total correlation. And one person Ron worked on had a brain lymphoma and the next week it was gone. I mean, he's an amazing healer. So, I mean, if anybody wants a healing, please contact us. So he's an extraordinary healer.
Yeah, he really is. He does. He comes in and balances. As you're talking and before we go to break, I just want to say it just goes to show that medicine is going to change, you guys, and it's already changing to where we will heal people energetically. And that's how we're going to do it. So you guys, it's called The Healing Field. I'm here today with Penny Price Lavin. This is Nancy Earl. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Earl, and I'm back here today with Penny Price Lavin. Her book is The Healing Field, and it's also a documentary. You guys have to check it out. Penny was going to tell more about the energy. And I was just saying when we went to commercial break, it's all about the energy. And I've known that for a long time. And I think you have too. And I think now society is beginning to understand that we're energetic beings and that in order to heal us, we heal our energy fields. Yes.
Exactly. And one of the big things in the documentary, in the book, is, and all of the experts agree on this, is that what's changing in medicine is rather than people thinking, I'm broken, I need a doctor to fix me, or I need to take a pill. Right. One of the huge shift, and this is happening all over the world, the huge shift is that self-care is moving to the top of that.
Yes.
What are the things that I can do? If I'm overweight, let me lose weight. If I'm not eating properly, let me eat in a cleaner way. If my thoughts are toxic and they're angry and they're judgmental, let me work on that, So it's like, just really briefly, there was a wonderful book by Eckhart Tolle called The Power of Now. And we read it, and a lot of our students read it. And they said, what do you think? And we said, well, the power of now is so important. I mean, Eckhart Tolle is enlightened, absolutely. But what's missing there is that you cannot be present. I could give you $100,000 and I said, okay, be present right now. And if you're filled with that stuff, that judgment, that sadness, that trauma, if you're filled with that, there's no way you can be present. And if you want to do healing work, you have to learn to be present. If you want to be effective in your lives, in your work, or with your family, whatever you want to create, you need to be present. So it's really important. I want everyone to know this, that it's not like turning on a switch. You have to learn to release. You have to learn to release the stuff that's there, take care of them, do the work, whatever you need to do. In One Light Healing Touch, we have this amazing school. My next one begins in May. It's a Zoom school. It meets one weekend a month for 5 months. And we have like 33 techniques to help people truly deeply release this stuff that we all hold on to.
Right.
And what we know in energy work, what we know is that people hold on to this stuff until they release them. It can sit there for years and years and decades, and until they release them. And just a short story, one lady came to me and she said, I don't know what's wrong with me. I mean, I have this perfect family and wonderful, children and a great husband. And what is it? I always carry this sadness and I don't know what it is.
Wow.
I invited her to the school and she came and she felt that it was right for her. And during the process, in looking at her, holding her energy, we saw that what she was holding was not her energy. It was her mother's energy, and it was sadness. And we did work releasing it. And then she spoke to her mother and she found out something she never knew before. And that was when her mother was carrying her, when she was in vitro, her mother's brother had died. And this woman cried for 9 months.
Okay.
So Emily was in the sea of sadness constantly for 9 months. And she didn't know where the sadness was from. And then it was released. And I tell you, in that one weekend, her life changed.
Wow.
So it's an amazing thing that happens, but most of the time, as Beverly Rubik says in the documentary, she's really found that when people begin the practices, whether it's Qigong or mental imagery or our kind of work, they have to develop a practice, and to change the energy, it takes a period of months. So
Yes.
that's why we have a school for 5 months or 6 months. So it's one weekend a month. So between that, people can practice, and they get together with other students on Zoom and they practice healings. And by the end of the course, people's lives, people say it's the most transformational course they've ever taken. So I love the work, and students really experience a deep healing and transformational growth.
I would imagine, let's talk a little bit about self-care, and that's exactly what you're talking about. And that's something that we as a society have gotten away from. It's really interesting. I've started to realize that people are always, hurry up, let's get all this done. And that's not the way to go. The way to go is to be more productive by being more balanced. And it's exactly what you're talking about. It's getting rid of those thoughts, in our heads. It's exactly what you're talking about, that energy that may be stuck from something that happened. And, self-care is something that I think more people need to talk about and more people need to do. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. And let me just give you a little preface to that.
Yeah.
What we know as energy healers is that people are sponges.
Yeah.
We're all holding on to things. We go around people, we feel good about them, we don't feel good about them. We're all tuning into other people. And then when we have traumas, which we all have, and things that break our heart and sadnesses, and we hold on to those things at a much deeper level. And Candace Pert, who was the founder of psychoneuroimmunology, what she did is, when she looked, she found these things that she called them energy bundles, and they get stuck and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And she found that if you go to a kind of therapy and you talk about the trauma event again and again and again, you make the grooves deeper.
Right.
So what's really important for all of you, anybody who's listening and watching, is to know that you have to be honest about what's going on. You can't deny it. If you deny it, what you resist persists.
Right.
So you have to be honest, but you have to find really effective ways of clearing that out and opening. What we do in One Light Healing Touch, we have all these great ways of clearing it out and then opening to the higher energy, because it's light. Actually, when we open to the light, it helps release those things and fill in the space with light. It's a tremendous process.
It really is a tremendous process, I have to say. And I think that it's something that we will all do eventually. Won't it be cool when the whole world is, connected energetically, and that everybody realizes all of these things? Now, as you've been doing this work, you've been doing it for a few years. What do you see? Do you see change? Do you see more and more people waking up? What's your take on everything right now?
I see so many, Nancy, I see so many people waking up. And if you think that the documentary Being on Gaia is now in German, French, and Spanish, that's a huge shift, right?
Yeah, it
Huge.
is.
That wouldn't have happened 20 years ago. It's
Yeah.
a huge shift. And what I'm seeing in the classes, what the big shift I'm seeing this year for the first time is that all the things we're teaching about helping people open their clairs, people are so much more psychic than they used to be. They're getting it. They're really open. They're more able to let go. They're more able to open and see and connect to the client's higher self or their partner's higher self, of seeing energy and where is it and whose energy it is and how long has it been there and is it male energy or female energy. You know, they're really being able to get it. I mean, I love working with the classes. I've really seen a big shift.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear that.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say that just another healing story, if you like.
Oh yeah, for sure. Tell us.
So Ron had this client, came to him, and she said that she was always in fear. She didn't know why she was in fear. She always felt this lurking fear in her life. And she was a very productive woman. She was a professional woman, but she had this sense of fear. So she came for a session and Ron looked at her and he saw in her energy field a wolf.
Oh.
And then he began communicating with the wolf, and lo and behold, the wolf had been her mascot in another lifetime, and they loved each other.
Oh.
So when she came in this lifetime, in came the wolf with her. And he just loved her. He just loved her. So then when that happened, he was able to talk with the client and help her open and see the wolf and acknowledge the wolf and say that she loved having the wolf in that previous lifetime, but she was fine this lifetime and she could release him. And that process of acknowledging and seeing and releasing changed her life. In that session, her life was changed. Yeah. Another lady came to Ron, and she was a local nurse, and she had a child who had a neurological issue. The doctors didn't know what it was. She was 2 years old. And when she walked, she was really off balance, something neurological. So Ron did a session with her, and he had the little daughters. The mother was on the massage table, and he had the little daughter right on top of her so she would feel safe. And then Ron worked on the little daughter and cleared energy out and helped things move in the proper way. And they went back after the session, and she went to the doctor the next week, and she could walk completely straight over to the chart in one session. So it's an amazing thing what happens in healing work. Sometimes it takes a series of sessions. Sometimes it takes one session. So the reason he started the school, One Light Healing Touch, and we're in the United States and in Germany, is because he really found that for people to go deep, they needed not a weekend workshop. They needed time and again with practices and a myriad of healing techniques so they could really get to the energy and release it. So that's why we have the school.
Yeah, you guys are going to have to check out the school. Hey, you guys, I'm here today with Penny Price Lavin. The book and the documentary is called The Healing Field. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. God. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and this is High Road to Humanity. I'm back here today with Penny Price Lavin. We're talking about energy. We're talking about healing. And she was telling us some great stories. And on the break, I was telling her how I just love the animals, and I love that people can communicate with the animals. And that's something, I just love nature and the animals. Talk about that, Penny.
Well, energy healing works on all living beings. So whether it's two-legged or four-legged animals, and the thing is that when you work with animals, they take less time because there's nothing in their consciousness that says, oh, this doesn't work. They just feel the energy. You know, they're such energy beings. Like when you train an animal, psychic people who work with animals like Penelope Smith, it's all psychic work. So animals are very, very psychic. And one year, Ron and I, we went to Montreal to a conference, a Native American conference. And afterwards, we walked through the stables and we found a horse and it had a goiter. I tell you, it's the size of a grapefruit. Huge.
Oh my gosh.
So we stayed there 10 minutes, we pulled energy out, and then we sent certain kinds of energy in. And then 2 days later, the stable master called and said it was completely gone. Whenever we got up to Montreal in that area, we could ride as long as we wanted to. And then one year when Ron was in England doing a number of workshops, he was connected to a woman who was head of the Olympic Equestrian Committee. Wow. And she had a horse that was very badly damaged. Okay. And so she brought a chiropractor to the horse and all kind, everything she could do.
Yeah.
He was still broken. And Ron worked, he did, I think like 5 sessions on the horse, not one, but it was a few sessions. And he was able energetically to move what was out of place, because they saw the chiropractic bone structure, but he was able to energetically move what was out of place, and the horse was fine. So yeah, I mean, whenever we do healing sessions, when we had our dog, she would be in the room because she loved the energy of just feeling, yeah, in the room. So yeah,
Right.
animals are great. And the great thing about an animal when you work on them is that they will let you know when they're done, because they get up and walk
And they
away.
leave. Yeah. Well, and I had a lady on my show, Charlene, and she can communicate with the animals. And I have a cat. Her name is Gracie. Sometimes you guys will see her walk by. She's a ragdoll cat. And so recently she started scratching at my new carpet and started tearing things up. And I've been painting my bathroom, just kind of getting my house ready because I'm going to sell it this next year. And I couldn't figure out why she was so upset. So I got in touch with Charlene, because she's an animal intuitive and she can talk to my cat. Even though I'm very, very psychic, I can't talk to my cat. So she did. And she connected with her last week, actually. And Gracie was afraid when I moved, I wasn't going to take her. And that's why she was tearing up the carpet, because she didn't want to move, because she didn't think I was going to take her. And I don't know why she thought that, but Charlene assured her that we're not going to move. And then I asked, Charlene, to ask her if it was okay if we got a dog. And she said no. She wants a cat and she wants it to be gray. And she told her exactly what she wanted the kitten to look like. And I thought this was great. So all I want to say to you guys is, it was the coolest thing ever. And I want you to understand that these animals are very intuitive and they can connect. And it changed our situation here at home, because she stopped scratching my carpet. And now she knows I'm not going to ever leave her. You know what I mean?
Let me tell you another piece of this, because Ron had a dog and he trained her psychically.
Okay.
And he got her when she was very little, and she pooped inside, and he threw her a picture. It's called throwing a picture. And this is what Penelope Smith says to an animal talk. He threw her a picture of pooping outside. And from that point on, she never pooped inside. And when we lived in New York City, we never needed a leash. With all the people, she would look at us, can I cross now? We would nod and she would cross. So animals work, and Penelope Smith said this too, animals are very psychic. And what you do is you throw them a picture. So what you can also do with your cat is you can throw her a picture of your new place, and she'll feel wonderful and she'll feel needed, and she'll be there. So that fear that she was holding will be eliminated.
Well, it changed our whole dynamic here at home, and I love her dearly. I'm such an animal lover. And to think that she thought I wasn't going to take her, just to know that she's fine. She's been fine ever since.
Oh, so fun.
I know. So it's really cool that, energetically we can communicate with the animal kingdom and with nature too. I mean, we haven't talked so much about the elementals and the trees and things like that. What, Penny?
And here's another story. We were riding horses in California, and they didn't have a bit through the horse's teeth. They had a bridle around, and I learned Eastern, English saddle, rather than Western. And I said to the guide who was taking us out, I said, well, how do you steer? He said, when you come to a fork, throw a picture that you want to go left or right, throw a picture. So he knew. So all people who work with animals at those deep levels, they know, throw a picture of what you want, not what you don't want. Throw a picture of what you want, because they want to please. They love us.
Right.
Like the Native Americans called animals sweet medicine, because they're here to love us. The dogs and the cats are here to love us. So they want to please us.
They really do, because in that little visitation that my friend Charlene had with her, my cat apologized. Oh, please tell my mom I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to do that. So it was really shocking to see how upset she was. She didn't mean to hurt my feelings by any means. And so that's true. Yeah, it's true. And I will say, not to put a bad light on it, but when I went to the zoo this year with my friend and her little boy, she said, oh, I have passes to go. And we went, and it was terrible for me. because I wanted to free them all. And I'm hoping, and I'll just ask you what you think about this. I think in the next few years, we won't have zoos anymore. What do you think?
They make me sad. They make me sad, yeah. And we know that we have to preserve species because species are dying all over. So we have to find some way of preserving the species, which is what many times zoos do.
Humanely, though. Humanely.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I know.
Yeah. Well, it's psychic, when you get more, become more intuitive, and then you go someplace like that and you connect with the animals, it's really difficult to.
And some zoos are wonderful, like the San Diego Zoo, because they're more outside than inside. There's some zoos, I forget, there are a number of zoos across the country that have really followed the way that the San Diego Zoo was created, which is animals are able to roam, and the people stay in their cars, and the people,
Yeah, it needs to be the opposite.
Yeah. So that you can find those zoos that understand that and have the space to be able to do that.
There's so much in this book. We didn't get a chance to talk about sound healing, which I'm so big on.
Oh, yeah. Should I say a few words about it?
Oh, please, because it's big. I really feel, sound is big.
So let me just really briefly say, in One Light Healing Touch, we really honor the practices, and we call them the 6 sacred practices as a way of honoring them. So it's sound work, breath work, movement, sacred ceremony, visualization, and meditation. And we do many, 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 many through the course of the training. So the way sound work works is that when we're holding our stuckness, our sadness, our whatever stuff we're holding, our, whatever traumas we're holding, that energy is stuck, right? So it's like when you go to your chiropractor, your Chinese medicine person, and they're feeling, they'll say, oh, your energy is really moving, or the chi is really flowing, or it's not, it's stuck. So when sound work works, it's acknowledging the same thing, that we're holding those energy bundles, and you bring the sound in and you help release it. You help release it by resonance. So you're bringing sound into the body. You work in instruments. We do a lot with chanting work. When you're bringing sound into the body, it helps release that stuck energy. So it's really, really powerful. We love sound work.
Yeah, no, I believe in it wholeheartedly. I think that's one of the answers, to healing is it's sound, it's water, it's energy, all of that. It's a combination, I believe.
Yes.
So I'm just really excited that you came to visit us today. If people want to get in touch with you, Penny, tell them how to find you.
Okay, first of all, let me hold this up. So the documentary is here and the book is here. The same title and then different subtitles, both on Amazon. And the website is onelighthealingtouch.com, or OLHT1.com is a shortcut. And it has all the information about One Light Healing Touch and information on the May School. And if anybody is interested in the May School or the March 27th Day of Healing, please email me, pennylavin@gmail.com. So that's pennylavin@gmail.com, and I will send you a flyer.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks for coming on today. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you. That was so much fun.
You're so knowledgeable. Hey, you guys, if you want a psychic reading or an angel reading, go to nancyyearout.com. You guys can find me on TikTok at High Road to Humanity. I'm pulling angel cards every day. And there's some messages on my website from Archangel Gabriel if you guys want to check them out. Hey, it's been a fabulous show. Thanks again, Penny. You guys have a great week. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll talk to you soon. Everybody take care and God bless.
Connect the dots and keep the motion. Can achieve your goal. Let's hit the high road.
Hey, you guys, join me next week on The High Road for more stories filled with wisdom, love, and hope for our future. Have a fabulous week and know that by staying on the high road, you will make it to your destination. Visit my website, nancyyearout.com, where you can book a private session to learn how to tap into your own abilities. And check out my YouTube channel. It's Nancy Yearout's High Road to Humanity.
You can achieve your goal.